I heard this story about the conversion of this priest when he was, his name is Father Luke, and when he was in high school, he was raised in a household without any sort of religion, and he was really into heavy metal, maybe the darker kind of that. And one day he was at a concert, and as the music was playing, he was banging his head, and then for a few moments, he was able to see these hideous-looking creatures that he understood to be evil spirits. And he recognized that there was a spiritual battle raging around him, just like there is for all of us. And that led him to seek baptism in the Catholic Church. And then later on, he entered a religious order, and as I said, he became a priest. And sometime after his conversion, he was reading Ephesians, the letter to the Ephesians by St. Paul, as we read in our second reading today, and he heard these words, "You were once darkness. You were once darkness." And it's so interesting. St. Paul doesn't say you were once in darkness. He doesn't say you were once characterized by darkness. He says you were once darkness. And the man understood that. And then he goes on to say, St. Paul says, "But now you are light in the Lord." And so that young man took the religious name Luke because Luke comes from the word for light. And so this passage from St. Paul is very interesting. He says, you were once darkness, and now you have become light in the Lord. He's inviting all these Christians to remember this because this is their baptism. This is what happens in baptism. We hear about baptism also in today's gospel, the story of the man born blind, where we see a conversion taking place, and we also see his transformation. And so we see that Jesus is the one who gives spiritual light. And this is always read as we approach Easter for those who are going to be baptized, so they can see what it is that's going to happen to them, because this is what happened to all of us too. The story represents baptism because the man was born blind. And so this represents original sin. You know, it's nothing that we did for this. This came from our first parents' original sin. But then Jesus takes the man and he smears his eyes with clay. And this same word smear is what we use when we talk about the anointing with oil in preparation for baptism. You know, if you brought a child to be baptized, they take the oil and place it on the bottom of their neck, right at the top of their chest, before the baptism happens. And then the man goes and washes in the pool, which obviously symbolizes baptism, and this is what brings about his sight. And then we see in the man a transformation. He begins to grow in his understanding of who Christ is to the point where he bows down and worships him. And so this all symbolizes baptism. And we have all received baptism. And in the second reading too, St. Paul says that once we have been baptized, we should live as children of light. And as children of light, he says, that means producing the fruits of light, which are righteousness, goodness, and truth, seeking to live so as to please the Lord. But then he goes on to say, taking no part in the fruitless works of darkness, rather exposing them. And so he says that we should also actively oppose things that are wrong, that are evil, in addition to seeking the fruits of righteousness. And so just a couple last things to keep in mind as we think about baptism and our spiritual battle that we are in. First of all, it's not other people that are the real enemies, right? St. Paul in his letter says that we are battling against principalities and powers. It's spiritual forces. So St. Thomas Aquinas used this image of medieval battles. You know, they ride into battle on a horse, and he says the horse represents the people, the evil men, but the rider represents the evil spirits. And so if you kill the rider, the horse will be set free. And so, when anything happens, we should think it's not this person, it's really evil spirits that we are waging battle against. And then finally, we need to remember that the battle has already been won. It's just coming to completion. Jesus won the victory through his death and resurrection, and it will be final at the end of time. And so in the meantime, we have to continue to fight the good fight and allow goodness to prevail in the world as we approach the end. And so St. John says these famous words, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That is a summary of what we are involved in. So as we are children of light, let us live in that reality and help us and ask the Lord to help us to be light in the world today.